Hello everyone. Uh, Myself Abdul Azim, and I'm a senior iOS developer at GeeksforGeeks, and this is the third session of our series on iOS development for beginners. So I think we can start. We have people now. So yes, in this session, mainly this session is mainly focused upon constant and variables and uh, by today actually from today now on we are starting basics of Swift in details. So this session is mainly focused upon constant and variables and data types and operators, and we will also be discussing strings and characters as well in this session. So before we start our session, first we will discuss what we have discussed so far. So in our first session, we have talked about the introduction of iOS development, and what are the technical requirements, what you need to do before you start iOS development or before you dive into the field. And then we have discussed about the scope, how jobs are doing in the domain, how means if you have learned creating apps in iOS for iPhone and iPads. So what then? What is the scope? What will you be doing then? So yes, and after that we have discussed about the content of this series that we will be discussing throughout our time in this series. We will be taking, I guess, total 18 to 19 sessions in this series. And we have discussed some basics of Swift, and we have discussed about Swift. Like Swift was developed by Apple, and Swift is very fast language. It is almost 2.6 times faster than Objective C. Actually, previously, iOS development, the code have been the code have been written, or ज़्यादातर code iOS डेवलपमेंट में फॉर आईफोन एंड आईपैड ऑब्जेक्टिव सी में ही लिखा जाता था. तो Swift is 2.6 times faster than Objective C, and it is nearly 8 times faster than Python. So yes, this Swift is very fast language. And we have also discussed about, we have created an Hello World app in which we have discussed के हमें IB outlets कैसे क्रिएट करने हैं अगर हमने कुछ अपने कंपोनेंट्स स्टोरी बोर्ड में रखे हैं, और वी हैव डिस्कस्ड व्हाट आर द बेसिक फंडामेंटल्स एंड फिजिबिलिटीज दैट provided by Xcode. So in this session we will be starting from where we left off in our last session, our Hello World app, कि हमने उसमें जितना कर लिया था, जहां तक हमने कर लिया था, आगे उसमें हमें जो जो डिस्कस करना है तो हम वही डिस्कस कर रहे होंगे. एंड सो दिस इज अ रिकैप जो अभी तक हमने कर लिया है. और आज हम मेनली हमारी जो क्लास है, जो सेशन है, वो मेनली फोकस्ड अपॉन constant and variables, operators, data types, and strings and characters as well. But first हम start करेंगे अपने एक जो छोटा सा हम एक प्रोजेक्ट क्रिएट किया था. हमने एक हेलो वर्ल्ड ऐप क्रिएट की थी और हम उसमें IB आउटलेट्स बना रहे थे. एंड देन टुडे विल बी क्रिएटिंग एन IB एक्शन, और उस IB एक्शन के थ्रू हम अपने IB आउटलेट प्रॉपर्टी का टेक्स्ट चेंज कर रहे होंगे. Okay, so I think yes, we can start from there. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so okay, I guess this should be visible now. Yes, okay. So अभी हम इसमें बात कर लेते हैं कि लाइक क्या क्या हमने डिस्कस किया था. हमने एक प्रोजेक्ट क्रिएट किया था. We have created a project in our Xcode demo project, and we have discussed के what are the feasibilities, क्या-क्या चीज़ें होती हैं. This is the root file of an Xcode project. एंड इस Xcode प्रोजेक्ट में यू विल सी देयर इज ए जनरल टैब जहाँ आप सेट कर सकते हो डेस्टिनेशन ऑफ योर ऐप लाइक इट विल बी फॉर आईफोन ओनली और इट विल बी फॉर आईपैड ओनली और इट विल बी फॉर बोथ. So you can choose destination or you can remove anyone if you want, or you can add more destination like watch OS, TV OS, like Mac OS here too. And you can set your minimum deployment minimum version for your deployment, like if I set uh, iOS, let's say 15.0, that means कि मेरा ये प्रोजेक्ट, मेरी ये ऐप उन डिवाइसेस पर ही रन होगी जिनके ऊपर iOS 15 या ग्रेटर वर्जन चल रहा होगा. iOS 15 के नीचे वाले वर्जन्स पर ये ऐप रन नहीं हो रही होगी. सो यू कैन सेट योर योर वर्जन हियर के जिस वर्जन के ऊपर आपको सपोर्ट देना है और जिस वर्जन के नीचे आपको सपोर्ट नहीं देना है. सो फॉर नाउ आई एम पुटिंग हायर वर्जन हियर. Okay, and then there are some properties in identity. There is bundle identifier. Bundle identifier is, is the ID of your project. Is the single ID of your project. ये आपके project को uniquely define करता है. And this will be used like when you will be communicating with the third parties, when you will be creating interfaces between your app and any third party server. Like for example, Firebase, Google, Facebook. Let's say you are creating Google authentication, you are creating Facebook authentication in your app. So you would have to use this bundle identifier to tell their third party server के उस third party server को किस application से communication करना है. So this is the unique identifier of your application, of your project, of your Xcode project. So, and then there is version of your app. Every time, like when you will be releasing your app on the App Store, every time every time you release something new, so you have to like आपको हर बार version update करना होता है कि like let's say first version is 1.0, then you are updating something, then you will update your version number 2 like 1.1 or 1.2, 1.3, one by one. So the version will tell के आपने किस ऐप में like किस वर्जन में आपने ऐप के किस वर्जन में क्या फीचर लॉन्च किया है. So this is the version of your app. And build number 2, build also, let's say you are sending your app to app review on App Store Connect, and somehow let's say you have sent 1.2 version for the app review, and somehow Apple Apple rejected your submission. So what you have to do, let's say Apple says, hey, make this change to your app if you want to submit your app to App Store. तो अब आपने 1.5 वर्जन लेट्स से या 1.2 वर्जन 1.1 वर्जन तक आप रिलीज कर चुके थे. 1.2 वर्जन या 1.5 वर्जन आप रिलीज करने वाले थे या करने जा रहे थे, बट एप्पल रिजेक्टेड इट. अब एप्पल ने आपको कुछ बोला है चेंज करने के लिए अपनी ऐप में. सो अब ऐसा नहीं है, लेट्स से यू आर गोइंग टू रिलीज 1.2 एंड देन वो चेंज करने के बाद अब आप यू आर गोइंग टू रिलीज 1.3. एक्चुअली अगर 1.1 वर्जन आपके ऐप स्टोर पर पड़ा है, सो यू विल वांट के 1.2 वर्जन ही आपका लाइव जाए, बट एक बार 1.2 वर्जन आपका रिजेक्ट हो चुका है. सो इन दैट केस एंड 1.2 वर्जन एज इट इज आप दोबारा सबमिट नहीं कर सकते. एप्पल विल रिजेक्ट दैट कि आपको एक नए कोड के साथ, एक नई बिल्ड के साथ एक नया वर्जन अपडेट करना है. सो व्हाट यू विल डू, यू विल सेंड द सेम वर्जन 1.2 बट द डिफरेंट बिल्ड नंबर. लेट्स से यू कैन चेंज, लेट्स से योर वर्जन वाज 1.2 previously and build 1. Now what you can do, you can simply just put build 2 here. Okay, hey Apple, we are sending build number 2 of our version 1.2. So you can check there. We have made some appropriate changes that you have asked us to make, and now we are sending a new version with a new build number. So yes, this is identity. These are some unique properties of your application, like display name. Display name is the name that will आपकी ऐप गैलरी में किसी ऐप का जो नाम दिखाई देता है वो वही नाम होता है जो आप यहाँ डिस्प्ले नंबर में शो कर रहे हो, जो आपने डिस्प्ले नेम में डाला हुआ होता है. So yes, these are some unique properties for your application. And then there are some deployment information like iPhone orientation, iPad orientation. Let's say, let's suppose you only want to release your app, or you only want your app only in portrait mode. You don't want to run your app in landscape or landscape left or landscape right on iPhone. So let's say if user switch to landscape and you want के आपकी app landscape में ना जाए, you don't want to give that support, so आप यहाँ से check and check कर सकते हो कि I'm only giving support to portrait orientation, or I'm giving support to all orientation, portrait, upside down, landscape left, landscape right. So आप iPhone और iPad के लिए अलग-अलग चूज़ कर सकते हो कि लेट्स से बिकॉज़ मेजरली ऐप्स यही करती हैं कि वो आईफ़ोन्स पर ओनली पोर्ट्रेट सपोर्ट दे रही होती हैं, और आईपैड पर वो सारे ओरिएंटेशंस पर अपना सपोर्ट दे रही होती हैं, पोर्ट्रेट, अपसाइड डाउन, लैंडस्केप, बोथ। सो यस एंड यहाँ से आप ऐप आइकन सेट कर सकते हो, जो भी ऐप आइकन आप अपना रखने वाले हो। लेट्स से जो भी एप्लीकेशन आप देखते हो उसका एक आइकन होता है, एक डिस्प्ले नेम होता है एंड एक ऐप आइकन होता है, तो वो ऐप आइकन आप यहाँ से सेट कर सकते हो। So there are many properties to your projects, and there is signing and capabilities as well. यहाँ से आपको अपनी एक टीम चूज करनी होती है जिसके पास एक वैलिड डेवलपर अकाउंट होना चाहिए, so that you can run your app on physical devices, or you can submit your app to App Store Connect. To have an App Store Connect, to submit your app to App Store Connect, you should have a valid Apple developer account. And to run your apps on physical devices, you should have a valid Apple developer account. And then there is a info plist फाइल। इस फाइल में आप सेट करते हो अपनी परमिशंस। यहाँ भी कुछ यूनिक आइडेंटिफिकेशंस ही होते हैं अबाउट योर ऐप, बट लेट्स से इफ यू वांट टू प्रोवाइड सम permissions, you want to ask user to do something, or if he or she want to permit for something or not. Let's say for location, if you want to ask user if you want to give permission to this app for your current location or for your live location. आपने बहुत सारी एप्स में देखा होगा, ऐप ओपन होती है एंड सबसे पहला पॉपअप आता है कि दिस ऐप विल यूज योर करंट लोकेशन, और दिस ऐप विल यूज योर लाइव लोकेशन, एटसेट्रा एंड एटसेट्रा। सो वो परमिशंस आप यहाँ से सेट करते हो कि वी आर गोना यूज लोकेशन परमिशन, और वी गोना यूज सेटिंग्स परमिशन, और वी आपने देखा होगा लाइक के to share data to third parties for advertisement, उसके लिए भी we have to ask user to give the permission to do that, to share his or her data to other third party, to provide his or her customized advertisements. So yes, यहाँ पर ये सारे काम हम कर रहे होंगे. Okay, so these are some basic basic वॉक थ्रू टू द एक्स कोड। अभी जैसे-जैसे हम अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स क्रिएट कर रहे होंगे, कुछ और चीज़ों पर काम कर रहे होंगे और प्रोजेक्ट्स पर काम कर रहे होंगे, तो धीरे-धीरे चीज़ें वी विल बी एक्सप्लोरिंग थिंग्स। एंड आफ्टर दैट टू मेन थिंग्स दैट वी विल बी एक्सप्लेनिंग। फर्स्ट इज़ ऐप डेलीगेट। हमने अपने लास्ट सेशन में भी बात की थी। ऐप डेलीगेट इज़ अ क्लास जो जब आपकी ऐप लॉन्च होती है, तो सबसे पहले जो क्लास कॉल हो रही होगी, दैट विल बी ऐप डेलीगेट एंड सीन डेलीगेट। ऐप डेलीगेट एंड सीन डेलीगेट विल बी हैविंग सम फंक्शंस जो फायर होते हैं जब आपकी ऐप लॉन्च होती है। सबसे पहले जो फायर होते हैं, लाइक जब एप्लीकेशन लॉन्च हो रही होती है, या इवन व्हेन योर एप्लीकेशन गो टू बैकग्राउंड, और इवन व्हेन योर एप्लीकेशन टर्मिनेट्स, तो जितने भी ऐप लाइफ साइकिल मेथड्स होते हैं वो सब ऐप डेलीगेट ही हैंडल कर रहा होता है। सो ऐप लाइफ साइकिल मेथड्स और ऐप स्टेट्स आर लाइक के कितनी डिफरेंट स्टेट्स होती हैं किसी ऐप की, लाइक व्हेन एन ऐप इज व्हेन app is in the app gallery, is not in background, or it is not running, that is an not running state. But when you tap an app or app icon from the app gallery, it comes to the foreground, but in inactive state, जब तक आप कोई एक्शन नहीं कर रहे हो, लेट्स से किसी ऐप पर आप स्क्रॉल नहीं कर रहे, कोई बटन टैप नहीं कर रहे, when you are performing something on the app, that is in active state, that is active at that time. And let's say when you send your app to background, that is background state, and when you kill your app, that is a termination state. And for all these states there are respective methods के इन सारी states के लिए respective methods call होते हैं जब भी आपकी कोई ऐप foreground में आती है, या जब भी आपकी कोई ऐप बैकग्राउंड में जाती है, जब आप ऐप को टर्मिनेट करते हैं, तो उनके रेस्पेक्टिव मेथड्स होते हैं जो फायर होते हैं। तो लेट्स से इफ आई वांट टू डू समथिंग इन माय ऐप व्हेन यूजर किल्स द ऐप, लेट्स से आई वांट टू सेंड सम डाटा टू सर्वर व्हेन यूजर किल्स द ऐप, तो उसके लिए रिस्पेक्टिव मेथड होता है जो ऐप डेलीगेट हैंडल करता है, जहाँ हम अपने जो भी काम हम करना चाहें, हम उस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पर कर सकते हैं, या ऐप लॉन्च पर हमें कुछ काम करना है। जैसे बहुत सारे काम ऐप लॉन्च पर हम लोग करते हैं, लाइक लेट्स से इफ यू आर इंटीग्रेटिंग फायरबेस इन योर ऐप, तो फायरबेस कॉन्फ़िग जो होता है, फायरबेस कॉन्फ़िगरेशन आपको ऐप डेलीगेट के लॉन्च फंक्शन में ही करनी होती है, जब आपकी ऐप लॉन्च होती है। So did finish launching will be a method that will be handling launch action of your application. So इसी तरह बैकग्राउंड और फोरग्राउंड के लिए भी, अगर लेट्स से आपको कुछ करना है कि एवरी टाइम योर ऐप कम्स इन द फोरग्राउंड यू वांट टू डू समथिंग, और एवरी टाइम योर ऐप गोज इनटू द बैकग्राउंड यू वांट टू डू समथिंग, लेट्स से आपको एनालिटिक्स इवेंट सेंड करने के, कोई यूजर कितनी बार आपकी ऐप को बैकग्राउंड में भेज रहा है, या कोई यूजर कितनी बार बैकग्राउंड से फोरग्राउंड में आपकी ऐप को लेकर आ रहा है, तो उन रेस्पेक्टिव मेथड्स में काम आप कर सकते हैं। And we have this main.storyboard class, not class, story. This is a storyboard file. Actually, what will you be doing in storyboard file? Actually, in this whole series, we will be dealing in UI kit, not in Swift UI. So in UI kit, we use storyboard. That means we create UI using drag and drops. तो पूरा UI क्रिएशन का काम आपका जो होता है वो स्टोरी बोर्ड फाइल के अंदर होता है। देन यू हैव टू कनेक्ट योर स्टोरी बोर्ड और योर स्क्रीन। लेट्स से दिस इज एन स्क्रीन, यहाँ हम एक स्क्रीन क्रिएट कर रहे हैं स्टोरी बोर्ड फाइल के अंदर। यहाँ हम कितनी भी स्क्रीन क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। लेट्स से इफ आई ऐड अनदर वन व्यू कंट्रोलर, दिस विल बी अनदर स्क्रीन। सो मैं कितनी भी स्क्रीन क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ जितनी मुझे अपनी ऐप में रखनी हो, और हर स्क्रीन के रेस्पेक्टिव मुझे एक क्लास असाइन करनी होती है। जैसे आई एम I'm building this UI for this screen. So I have assigned this file view controller, this one here, to this screen UI. तो इसकी जो फंक्शनैलिटीज होंगी वो वाली क्लास या वो वाली व्यू कंट्रोलर फाइल हैंडल कर रही होगी, जो भी मैंने इसको असाइन करी होगी। सो दिस इज द स्टोरीबोर्ड जहां हम UI क्रिएट कर रहे होंगे, एंड व्यू कंट्रोलर्स विल बी क्लास। हर एक स्क्रीन के लिए एक अलग व्यू कंट्रोलर होगा। इसके लिए हमें एक अलग व्यू कंट्रोलर बनाना पड़ेगा। वो बाय डिफॉल्ट एक स्क्रीन क्रिएटेड होती है तो उसका व्यू कंट्रोलर क्रिएटेड होता है। इसके लिए हमें अलग व्यू कंट्रोलर बनाना पड़ेगा। एक अलग क्लास हम क्रिएट करेंगे ऑफ टाइप यूआई व्यू कंट्रोलर, एंड वील बी असाइनिंग दैट यूआई व्यू कंट्रोलर क्लास टू दिस स्क्रीन। ये सब चीजें हम क्रिएट कर रहे होंगे इन द फ्यूचर, जब हम रेस्पेक्टिव सेशंस पर पहुंचेंगे जहां हम मल्टीपल व्यू कंट्रोलर्स के साथ खेल रहे होंगे। ओके एंड where were we? Okay, so in the last session, what we have done, we have created a label into our screen, we have created one screen app, and we have put a label here. Label is a component which we use to show some text. Okay, तो हमने एक हेलो वर्ल्ड ऐप बनाई थी, और वी हैव क्रिएटेड एन आईबी आउटलेट ऑफ दिस लेबल to you know to our view controller class. So what is IB outlet? IB outlet properties are just a reference to to that component, to our code file, to view controller file, so that we can access, this is the reference, so that we can access that label or that component from our code. Let's say in our last class what we have done, let's say first, if I put, let's say I have changed its title to hello, its text to hello world, and if I run this app, so if I run this app, this will show you on the screen hello world. Now what I want to control this text. What I have done here, I just created a label and set it text to hello world. But what I want to do, I want to control its text from the from my code class, that is view controller class. So what I have to do, I have to create a reference to that label in my file. So I have created that reference in our last session, text label. And now if I set it like, let's say self dot text label. I have named it text label, text LBL. Dot text equals to hello world removed. And if I run this now, okay, let me give it some constraints. I will explain all these properties, what it will do, how to align text, or how to set some constraint, how to set frames, height, width, or paddings. I will explain all these in the upcoming session when we will come to the UI component perspective lecture. Okay, let's set is constraints. Okay, now if I run this, you see here we have assigned hello world, but it is showing hello world removed because now we are controlling it from our code, and in our code we have set it to hello world removed, so it is showing hello world removed new text that I have set it here. So that is how we create reference in our code file, that is view controller file, and then we can do anything with that component, like we can access some properties, we can set some properties, we can get some properties as well. Now one thing is IB outlet, that I wanted to tell you, that IB outlet is simply the reference that we create for components to access them in the code. And second thing is IB action. IB action we create to perform some actions. For example, but for buttons, let's say if I create some button here. Let's say if I create a button here, let's say I change the text to change above text. So here is my button. So what I want to do when I press this button, change about text. So I want to change this text. So to do that, I have to create an action in my view controller file, which will be triggering every time I press this button. So let's create that IB action. So okay, so we simply हम अपना कर्सर इस बटन के ऊपर ले जाते हैं and we press control and right click and drag it right here just below the view did load function. And like the IB outlet, it will ask us to name it, and you can see in the connection, right, in the connection it is showing action, that we are creating action. We are not creating a reference to access it, that means IB outlet. We are creating IB action. That means we will be performing something this will be a method which will be performing every time user press that button. Okay, so let's name it change text action. This is UI button and connect. And you will see now we have a method here, function here, which is directly conforming to our button that we have created in our UI file. So now let's say if I every time I will be pressing this button, what I will do, I will change it text. Let's say self dot text label dot text equals to let's say above text has been overridden. So now if I run it, see, if we run our app, you will see I press that button and it has been changed to above text has been overridden, right? Okay, so this is how uh, IB action works. We create IB action to perform some triggering action every time I press some button or any other triggered component. We will be discussing other elements like that, like button in future in upcoming sessions. Okay. Okay, so that's all that where we left off in our last session that I wanted to tell you. Now let's move to our playground and uh, start the basics of Swift that we want to discuss in this session. Okay, let me share my playground. Okay. Okay, so first we will start with constant and variables. Though we have already discussed constant and variables in our previous session, but let's start again and just in the brief. And so to declare constant in Swift, there are two keywords, let and where. To declare constant, we use let, and to declare variables, we use where. So let's say if I declare something, let's say let constant 1 equals to 3. Let's say constant 1 int equals to 3. So I cannot change it then because this is a constant. This is a let property, and a let property is a constant that we cannot change throughout the scope. So let's say now if I do this, so it will throw an error because this is a constant. We cannot change it. Let's say if I play this, see, it will throw an error. Cannot assign to value. Constant 1 is a let constant. Same to create variables to for the properties that we want to modify. That means for the mutable properties we use var. We create variables. So we create like this variable 1, and let's say if I say int 4, and now if I change it to variable 1 equals to 5. So it will not throw any error because this is a variable and we can change a variable. So 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this is we have already talked about a lot. Talk a lot about constant and variables. So we will not go deep into constant and variables today as well. So we will leave constant and variables right here, and we will move to data types. What are different data types? So there is int in like let's say data type. There is integer for integers. There is int in Swift, And there is one thing about Swift: if you don't specify a data type explicitly, so it will access the data type from the property that you are assigning to it very first time. Let's say I have created let data type equals to 3, and 3 is an integer. So by default, it will it will mark this property as integer, as an integer. So this thing and this thing, these both lines are same. Means, let's say if I write this data type equals to 3, and if I write data type int equals to 3, these both lines are same. Okay, so this is for integer, and we have a string. Let's say, let's put it integer let string type. So for a string, we have a string starting with capital S, and we can assign it. Same goes for it. If we don't, assign data type explicitly, so it will access the data type from the value that we are assigning to the property very first time. So yes, this goes for every property, every data type. We don't have to, tell explicitly about the data type of a property if we are assigning some value to it. Whatever value we will assign it first time, it will make that to its data type. Okay, it will make that type to its data type. Okay, and now after a string, we have float type. For for floating point values, we have float type, and to represent floating point numbers in Swift, we have two values, two data type actually. One is float and one is double. And I will explain the difference. What is the difference between two values? These both uh, data type actually represent floating point numbers, but the difference is float represents 32-bit floating point numbers, where the double represents 64-bit floating point numbers. So though they both represent floating point numbers, it just depends on the size of your number. If you think your size of your number will increase, will be greater than 32 bits, so you can use double. Otherwise, you can simply just use float for any floating point numbers. So we can mark it as here like 32-bit floating point value. (64-bit floating point value). Okay, and we also have, Boolean type. That is bool, in which you can put your Boolean values like true or false. You can put true here. So these are basic data types that you use in any language, right? These are same like for in any other language. Every language use these data types. And we can also, there is one other data type in Swift as well, that is any. So any data, any type. Let's say, wow. So you see, we have created a variable any type, and we have assigned it to explicit data type any. The thing about any is that means it is telling this can be of any type. You can assign any type of value. Let's say first we assigned it to 3, and then we have 3 is an integer, and then we have assigned it to a string, and when we are printing it, it is successfully printing a string value. It is not throwing any error here. This was an integer, and you are assigning it to a string. It is not throwing any error because it is of any type. So this is another type in Swift that will be of use in our future discussions. So yes, and another thing is we can cast one type to another in Swift. Like for example, let's say if I have an integer type 3 and I want 3 in string form, let's say let to string, it will be a string and integer type. So integer type value is 3, and if I print, let's say to string dot type, sorry, type of to string. So it will print a string. Okay, it is saying first we had the integer type which is of type integer, and we have converted it to a string, and now when we are printing type of our new value, it is saying it is a string type. So it is successfully converted it to string type. So that's how we can cast one type to another, string to string to integer to string. Let's say if I say to int, and if I do this, it will, let's say now if I print its type, this, see, integer, it will be of int type. It is successfully converted it to integer type. Now after this, let's jump to operators. So in Swift, operators are symbols or phrase that you use to perform some operations on one value or among more than one values. So let's say, for example, first thing is assignment operator. Assignment operator is one thing. It is actually this symbol that we use to say equal to, this symbol to assign some value to some property. Let's say if I do this, let assign value, this is my property, and if I do this, so this symbol here is an operator which is assigning assigning 3 to this, which is assigning 3 to this property assign value. So this is an assignment operator which we use to assign values to the constant variables and properties and other properties. And after that we have arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are we use like to sum of values, to addition, subtraction, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, to perform arithmetic operations, right? And division. So yes, for addition we use plus, and for subtraction this is minus, for multiplication we use star here, and for division we use a forward slash. So for example, if I want to add two values, let add equals to 7 plus 3. So and this is the sum. So it will be, I have told you, we have talked about this, like if we are printing something and with the string, if I want to put some value in there between my string. So this is how we do it. And this is called string interpolation. String interpolation. Okay, so now if I print this, you will see it will print the addition of result of the above statement, like add equals to 7 plus 3. We are using two operators here. One is arithmetic operator, that is for addition, 7 plus 3, and one is assignment operator that we are using to assign value to the add property. So you are seeing in the result, this is the sum, 10. Okay, now let's move forward. Let's move to let subtract. So we use this operator to subtract some values, and if I print this, so this will be subtract, and this is the subtraction. We are again using a string interpolation, and this will print, this is the subtraction, 7 minus 2, 5. Again, then we go to multiplication. That is, let's say I say 3 is to 4, and if I print here the multiplication, this is the let's say we say this is the multiplied value, that will be our multiplication property. And now if we print this, it should print 3 is to 4, 12, and it is printing well. Now if we go to division, let's say let division equals to, let's say I say 9, or let's say 10.0 divided by 4.0. I'm dividing a float value with a float value, so it will give me the this is the divided value. It will give me the result in a float or double value. That means in a floating point number. That is division, and it will be see 2.5. It will give you the result in a floating point number. So now we move on to remainder operator. Remainder operator is the operator which will give you the remainder of a of a division. So let's say in our this, and the symbol will be this percentage. So I would say I would write it like this. So let remainder, it will return the remainder of a division. Let's say 10 divided by 4. So print I'm using interpolation here again and again so that you can get used to it, because you will be using a lot when you will be concatenating some text in your app, or building some text by using more than one values, or putting some property or variable or constant into your raw string. See, remainder 2. So this is our remainder operator. Now we move to compound assignment operator. What is compound assignment operator? Let's say I have a property. Let's say var and compounded value. Let's say I have this, and let's say I will say this is 10. Okay, this is an integer property which is having a value 10. Okay, and then let's say what I want to do, I want to add some value to it or subtract some value from it. Let's say compounded value equals to compounded value plus 5. So what I'm doing here, I'm using two operators here. One is the addition operator and another one is the assignment operator to add something into my value, right? So if I print this, okay, and let's say compounded value, and now if I print it, it will print 15. But how we can write this actually? Instead of this, we can simply write it like this. This is a compound assignment operator. What it will do, it simply means the previous statement, like compounded value equals to compounded value plus 5. So these two statements are same. This is what plus equals to you know uh, merged plus and equals to, or addition or any operator with assignment operator is called compound assignment operator, right? So this is our compounded value and compound assignment operator. How this is how it works. It will print the same 15. Okay. Now, if we move to comparison operators, so comparison operators are something where you are comparing two values. Let's say two strings, let's say two numbers, let's say two floating point numbers, let's say two Boolean values, anything. Okay, and now, so let's say these are equals to. Let me write some equals to. There are equals to is used to compare two values if they are same, they are equal, and not equals to, that means you are comparing two values which are not same. And let's say greater than is to check if some value is greater than the other. Lesser than is to to check if one value is lesser than the other. And you can use greater equals to as well, you can use lesser equals to as well. And all these operators always returns a bool value. Let's say if I say one thing is let's say if I write if, first let's create two values. Let one value equals to, let's say 3, and let another value, let's say 5. And now I write if one value equals to another value if they are same. So I will write print values are same. Else if they are not same, print values are not same. So values are not same because we are comparing 3 and 5, right? So it will fall into the else condition. And all the, these comparison operators always return a bool value. So if I print something like this, first let's check if not equals to, if this works. Mm, under values are not same. So now if I print this, it will print values are not same because this is a not equal to operator, not operator, which is comparing these two value and checking if these values are not equal. If these values are not equal, this will return a true statement and it will fall under this if condition. So this is why it is printing values are not same. So let's say if I directly print something like this, let's say okay, okay. Let's say if I write one value equals to another value. So what it will print? It will simply print, if values are equal, it should print true, and if values are not equal, it should print false. We are comparing 3 and 5 here. That means it should print false. See, it is printing false. So it is telling, and if I say not equals to, so it will actually, it will be printing a true statement, a true value. See, so it is telling that any comparison operator actually always returns a Boolean value, true or false. Wherever you return it, it will check if this is true or not. So let's say if we check greater and lesser, let's say if I say one value is greater than the other, it will print false because one value is 3 and we are saying 3 is greater than 5. So that's why it is false. And if I say lesser, it should print true, right? So this is how comparison operator works in Swift. Now there is ternary operator. So what is ternary operator is for? Let's go to our previous if else situation condition. Let's say if we write if one value is greater than another value, so I would, let's say, print greater, else I would print lesser. So now if we print it, it is printing lesser because one value is not greater than another value. One value is 3, another value is 5. So 3 is not greater than 5. So it is printing lesser. So what ternary operator actually do, it is just, it will just convert your if else situation to a single line statement. So we can simply just write it like one value greater than, another value. So first, let me explain. In a if-else situation, the statement that you are writing after if, it is a conditional statement. It is your condition that you are checking if this is true or false. And then if it is true, then you write something into the if, into the if block. If this is true, this will execute, and if this is false, the else block will execute. So basically this is a three-part process. One is the condition, if it is true or false. One is the one statement that you are executing when the condition was true, and another statement you are executing when the condition is false. So one is condition, second is the execution under true condition, and third one is the execution under false condition. So what ternary operator will do, ternary operator will convert all the scenario, your if else condition, into just one single line statement. So what we do, we write our one thing, that is condition, another value greater than one value greater than another value, and we put a question mark, and then we execute our statements. One is this, and another statement is this. So what it will do, it will check the to the left of the question mark is your is your condition, and to the right of your question mark is your two statement to execute under different condition values. So in the condition, it will check if this is true or false. If this is true, it will execute the first statement, and if this is false, it will execute the second statement. So let's say if I print this now, let's comment it. Let's say if I print, it is printing lesser because the condition is false, so it will execute the second statement. Let's say change the condition and make it lesser, one value lesser than another value. So it will just print the greater because this is true, right? We are saying we are setting a condition which is returning true value, so it will execute the first statement that we are writing. Okay, so it will execute greater. That is why it is executing greater. So if I write this into a generic, in a generic statement, it would be like condition question mark first, true statement and false statement. Means the statement that you want to execute under false condition and the statement you want to execute under true condition. So that is how your ternary operator looks like. Now, after the ternary operator, let's move to nil coalescing operator. What is nil coalescing operator? Actually, to understand nil coalescing operator better, we first understand how optional works, because this is for optionals. So, and we have already talked about optionals, not in deep. We didn't dive deep into the optionals. We will discuss in deep about optionals when we will go to the respective session. So, but I have already explained about optionals enough so that you can understand the nil coalescing operator. So let me tell you what optional is. First, optional is you can make a property optional. That means if you are making something optional, that means it can have a value or it cannot have value. It can have a nil value. Let's say I am declaring something, let's say where optional val int. So by question mark, I am making it an optional value, right? So let's say this is an optional. What nil coalescing operator is, if I if I do this, let's say let new value equals to optional val plus 3. So if I execute it, it will throw an error. Value of optional type int must be unwrapped, must be unwrapped to a value of int, because what I'm doing, I'm adding two values. One is integer type 3 and another one is optional integer type. That is an integer, but this is optional because we are adding two values. One is 3 and another one is optional. That means it can be nil. It cannot have any property. So what is nil coalescing operator? Nil coalescing operator is something that can provide a default value to an optional value. That means if the value is coming nil, so it will use default value. So double question mark is the nil coalescing operator. So you can simply write, let's say 0. So what it will do, if the value in optional, if there is nothing in the optional value, So it will provide it will use default value, that is 0. So now if I print this, print new val, see, this is 3 because we didn't assign any value to optional val. It is only optional, so it will sure be returning nil. And when we, when we are coming to this statement, new value plus 2, optional value, nil coalescing operator 0 plus 3. So it is return, optional value is returning nil. So by default, it is using 0 instead of nil, and it is adding 0 to 3. So let's say if I provide some other value to default value, that is 5. So it will return 8 because optional value will be returning nil and we are providing it 5. So 5 plus 3 will be 8. C is returning 8. So this is how nil coalescing operator works. We use nil coalescing operator only for optionals to, to use some default values in case there is nil coming and we don't want to, handle nil at our end by using, optional chaining or optional binding. So instead of using optional chaining and optional binding, we can also use nil coalescing operator where we don't, we where we don't care how values is gonna affect by providing some default values. So yes, this is how nil coalescing operator works, and I guess for today this is enough. For this session this is enough. We'll be continuing with our next session, that is on Friday. So it is. So yes, I guess this is it from our side for today, and we'll be meeting on Friday with our next session, and of course we'll be continuing our discussion over operators as well, and then we'll be continuing strings and characters as well, and then we will go to the switch, if else, and our for loops, etc., etc. That is whole control flow. So yes, if you have any questions, so you can write into the comment box. So this is it from my side. Thank you guys for listening. So please, I'm here for another 1 minute. You can write if you have any question into the comment box.